Hey everyone, today we are going to get into showing you something that so many of you have asked me for, my tattoos. I have pictures of each and every one, well, most of them, except for the ones that have been covered up, and I'm going to tell you when I got them, how I got them, the story behind them, and all of that. So I got my first tattoo when I was about 25 years old, would have been around 1987-ish, and I just went down to this place in Fort Worth. Didn't know anything about researching for a tattoo artist. I don't think it was really done at that time. That's almost 40 years ago. So I really didn't know a lot about it, and we went to dinner that night at this place in Fort Worth called Joe T. Garcia's. If you know Fort Worth and you know Joe T. Garcia's, drop it in the comments because that will literally make my day. I love that place so much. My whole family was there. The entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone, except my grandmother, because she had died. Thank goodness. She probably would have skinned me alive. I don't know. I was first grandchild, kind of the favorite grandkid, and which comes with a lot of guilt. Yeah, it came with a lot of benefits too, so I probably would have lived. I'm going to show you what I covered it with because that is... let's just do what I covered it with. It's on my right hip, and it is a lily pad with whatever that flower is and the little frog. Now, the original cover-up is just the flower, the greenery, and the frog. The tribal art in these flowers were added by another artist, Dominic, that did my back piece and some of my other work. But Jason was my first tattoo artist here. Right in here is where the original, in the middle of that flower where it's light, they had to go in and pack it with white so they could go through and cover it up. And as a general rule of thumb, if you get a cover up, you want to go about 3 sizes bigger than the tattoo that you're trying to hide, because it's very difficult to hide tattoos, especially the way they did them back when I got that one, and it just turned into a big mess. I mean, when it healed, when my tattoos today heal, I might have a little bit of peeling, but I'm talking about the whole scab in the shape of a hummingbird came off in my hand. I'm like, what the heck is this? All the ink, everything. It was horrible. So over time, ended up turning into a pterodactyl. And Jason got that covered for me, and it was wonderful. After that one, my next tattoo, my son Michael was probably 6 months old. So this was 1991. And I found a man in Everett, Washington. And this tattoo, believe it or not, is pretty good for 1991. And it's really kept its color. So this is the one I got when Michael was a baby. It's real sentimental to me for various reasons. But I've got another hummingbird there, some little purple flowers. And this guy took about 4 hours to do this. It was no big deal. Laid there and read a book, got it done. I didn't know how hooked I was going to be. But then again, I didn't know everything I was going to go through. My next tattoo came, my husband and I were on the island of Oahu probably in 2003 or 2004. And we met this guy named Dominic McIntosh. And looking at his work, he had his portfolio there. It looked pretty good. He was just pretty much starting out as a tattoo artist. And I know my husband got a leather band around his arm. And I got, yes, a tramp stamp. You may laugh now if you would like. This one is kind of a jumbled mess. If you can see right up towards the top, I think that's the original flower maybe, because you have this tribal stuff going around it. And this is after my back surgery in 2018, and I had my lower back fused. And it was so funny because my neurosurgeon, his assistant Omar, said, I'm going to stitch you up so you will not be able to tell that you have ever been cut. And this was right after, as you can see, I still have the tape on, and you cannot tell today that they cut me. It's perfect. I wanted more on my back after that, after a certain time. That's why it ended up kind of merged into another one. One thing that's real funny with me that I found out, some of you may feel this way, and some of you may think, what the heck are you talking about, Teri? I didn't feel balanced. For some reason, I felt really out of balance. It was just one of those gnawing things, but it dictated sort of the rest of my tattoos, if that makes any sense at all. The piece that I got after that would be my back piece. Here it is. That is my back piece. Dominic did that. If you look right down the top of my shorts, you can see the original tattoo in there. And I had seen a woman that had just a beautiful cherry blossom branch on her back. And I thought, you know what? I want that. While this is up, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a little bit and tell you about this one. So if you look at that, that's pretty intricate. That's on the inside of my left arm. I'm right-handed. Why do I tell you that? It's very important to the story. I think everyone knows that I went through a very intense time of trauma. In 2008, I turned to something I had never thought of, I had never done before. I didn't even really know what I was doing when it happened, and that was injury, self-injury. It first started after a huge fight when we were in Las Vegas in 2008. And I remember just scratching my arm. I don't know where it came from. It was like, what the heck's going on? It was like this thing had taken control of my body, and things evolved from there. So let's see which tattoo we're going to show now. Okay, my back piece. I think that was my next. Let's share that again if I can. I think that was my next one right there, to prevent anything that I could do that would leave permanent scarring. This was sort of a deterrent. It wasn't supposed to be black. I was going in for a white tattoo. Promptly got talked out of that. And I love it because it was able to be integrated in with the rest of my tattoos, with my sleeves, other parts on my back. And this tattoo goes all the way around my side and up under my chest a little bit. This tattoo is covered up, thank goodness, and this one is too. And this one is part of my trauma tattoos. Now, my trauma tattoos, one of the things I can tell you about those are the ones you're going to see that are in the black and gray, black and white tones. They have no color. And I didn't really put that together until I got my more colorful tattoos. And I thought, what's this about? What's going on? It was a time I had no joy in my life. I was desperately trying to hold on to my life. I thought I was losing my mind. I was misdiagnosed inappropriately. If you've been following me, you know about that. If not, I'll try and drop that in the notes. And I was put on wrong medications that did some very horrible things to me in the way I was thinking and in my behaviors. I made very poor choices, and I hurt a lot of people. And I have to take ownership for that, even though I was in a state of a medicated weirdness, is the only thing I know how to say. It all still came. I was the vessel in which this vitriol was coming from. And so I do take responsibility for that. But at the same time, man, what a potent advertisement. Jeez. Forgetting what the heck? Forgetting the right diagnosis and how messed up you can be if you're put on the wrong medication. I think I told you guys I was seeing doctors and we're not talking about that. We want to talk about tattoos. Okay. So what was that? That was my arm, my back. Okay. And then we start in with the trauma tattoos, I believe. No, I was going to show you the fairy that Joe did. This is really hard to see because it's really contorted the way the photo's taken. This is on the front of my left hip. It's a little fairy with some flowers, very vibrant, very pretty. I wasn't really feeling a lot of the trauma at that time. And so that's what Joe did. And he owns a tattoo studio in West Lynn. And I think he owns one over in Portland as well. So let's take that one off. This is freaking me out. I mean, I go to share. I'm not sure how this video is going to turn out. And then I've got like 3 pictures pop up. That's my life lately. What can I say? Okay, after I got that one, we got pretty serious about trauma. It's probably, let me look here. Oh, I want to show you Jason. That is Jason. Oh, look how young and cute he was. Jason's my man. I think I watched Jason go through some of the hardest times of his life. And recently, he found the love of his life, and he's living in Northern California with his wife. And she put a picture up the other day. She told me that when she saw me, when I first saw her, I was in for some work on my arm, and she said she could sense that I was kind of sizing her up. And I was. I don't know why. I felt very protective over Jason. We just had formed this unique bond. Let me show you him now. Now this photograph, don't know what's going to pop up because it's doing some weird stuff. This is Jason now, or a few years ago. This was done by a friend of mine named Wayne Mackison, who is an attorney, and he's an incredible photographer. So this is Jason then, and I think that's about the time Spirit came into his life. So you can tell from the first picture to this picture, Jason has been in my life for a very long time. One of my first trauma tattoos was this one I'm about to show you, and it's just a shoulder cap. I remember going in and saying, Jason, I need therapy. I need therapy. And I can't see if there's one on the inside of my arm right here or not. That might have been the first one. It says live, laugh, love, and dream, which is all I wanted to do at the time. It is in black and gray, as is this one. And you can see this one's pretty fresh. I've got some red around it. Okay, obviously Teri didn't stop there. The trauma just kept starting getting worse and worse and worse. And that was my therapy. And that was so I didn't do anything, like, as I said earlier, that was going to leave an ugly, horrible scar that I would have to explain to people. You know, sometimes you have to explain your tattoos because people will ask you a story, how, why, where, you know, all of that. But it's a lot easier to explain your tattoos than it is to explain a scar and have to go into the reasoning behind what happened. And it's a mess. So let's get into some of my trauma tattoos. How long have we been going here? I'm going to be just as surprised as you guys when I find out what the heck is popping up here. So this is one of my first trauma tattoos. Wild Hearts Can't Be Tamed. I got that in the year of 2014. My life was in flames. I was going through a horrible, horrible divorce. You know, really the only thing I think I can say about that time period of my life was thank God I survived it. And I really think, I remember there's this girl, she's an author. Her name is Nicole Lyons. Look her up on Instagram, look her up on Facebook. She's awesome. She's in Canada. I had been speaking with her, or I had said something, and somehow she sensed that I was in trouble. She called authorities here. She got a hold of people and said, Teri's in trouble. You guys need to help her. And when I found out about that, I didn't go back to my apartment at that point. I had people come to me, got into my doctor. Everything went well. But a shout out to Nicole if she happens to see this, because Nicole really came into in my life at a time that I couldn't see up from down. I really was having a very difficult time. This is probably one of my third trauma tattoos. My feet. Okay, story if you're going to get your feet tattooed. It hurts like it is bad. Not the worst I've ever had, but it's bad. And I was sitting in Jason's chair and he's tattooing my foot. And I didn't realize that I'm trying to distract myself. And I've got my hand is on my thigh, like really tightly. I didn't notice it. And I kind of saw, I don't know if there was a noise or whatever. If I noticed Jason out of the side of my eye, and he looked at my hand on my leg, and I looked down. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that hurts. That hurts really bad. But I like it. It's there. Would I do it again? At that time, it kept me alive. And yeah, I like it. So there's that one. And then I started doing more work on my arms. I felt very unbalanced, as I said. I had the cap was put here. I had script right. Well, you can't even hardly see it through here because I can't turn my arm that way. I had the script right there. And then I had this one, and I was feeling really unbalanced. I was starting to get back into being myself again. I had seen another doctor who had corrected my diagnosis, took me off of all that horrible medication, and I was starting to level out at that time. And so I wanted sleeves. Let me try and show you my my arms, which I had, they're trauma. And also I kind of kept it black and white at that time because this is going to sound really stupid. I didn't want it clashing with a lot of my clothes. Yeah, dumb idea, right? My life. And in here you can see I love this tattoo. Jason, I just said, Jason, do it. Here's the cap that he did. He ended up putting a skull back here. It's sort of like a Day of the Dead thing. This piece is amazing. And he came down onto my hand. And then he did some things on the other one. Here's a really good picture of this part over by my elbow right there. That was painful. That really hurt. That really did hurt. But I really like the way it came out. I am not embarrassed of them. I am not ashamed of them. I like them. I think now that they're me, and they tell my story of someone that has struggled terribly, almost losing my life, but I found a way to cope that worked for me. Is everyone going to do it? No. But I knew I wasn't going to be an alcoholic like my dad. This is part of the back. It's the very top piece of the skeleton head with the headdress. I'll try and find another one here. Let's stop that sharing for now so I can get this worked out. Okay, I'm going to talk it through, and then if it's not sharing, I'll be able to put the picture up because I'll know where my mark is. This is the back of my arm, and you can see the skull, Day of the Dead skull, the woman with the fancy headdress. And I love Jason's ability. He just was marking on me with a Sharpie to do these, and his talent absolutely amazes me with the way he just can see things. And this is one that is, I think I like this photograph because, I've got my makeup on, I'm looking pretty glamorous, I've got my tattoos, my Rolex, and it's like I'm coming together as pretty much a statement here. And I really don't think my tattoos detract from who I am. If anything, they sort of add to my story. I hope that one's shared. It doesn't look like it is. I had my arms, I had my sleeves done. My back is pretty much done except for, I have to stop and think, my right upper quadrant is not tattooed. I have another trauma tattoo, if I can find it here. I didn't close it. All right. You guys are seeing my entire screen, it looks like now. So let's go through these. All right. So this was the first piece. This was the second. Here is when my arms, after they were completed and healed. This was just recently. It was about 4 years ago. Jason working on me, freestyling there. Love it. Here's Jason. Like I said, I just love him to death. And this is, I wish I could get the full, don't know what else is going on here, but hopefully you guys can see these. Those are my arms. I had to feel balanced. I just did not feel like I was in balance. And so I had those completed, and I love them. I absolutely love them. They're me. Some people may be saying, well, my gosh, you could have made a different decision. Yeah, well, I could have. And what are some of the decisions you could have made differently? I think a lot of us can make different decisions. This is not one that I made that ended up with life-altering consequences. Then my daughter sent me a picture of my granddaughter, and she was dressed as Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Dominic McIntosh, who owns a studio here in Portland named Esoteric Tattoo, is one of the best best portrait tattoo artists that I have ever seen. All right, so that is my granddaughter, Anna Grace. On the right, of course, is her photograph that her mom sent me, my daughter sent me, when Gracie was going to go as Audrey Hepburn at Breakfast at Tiffany's for Halloween. Now, on the left, that is not finished healing. But what I want to show you in this, you can see her little baby hairs. You can see the shadows under her eyes, her little philtrum here, the highlights on her lips. Look at those gloves, the way he did this. This is just amazing. And I really like the way he took it and put it in that pattern with her. So let me try and get to one of the finished products or with him. And there is my leg. He has a stencil put on there. And this tattoo right up here is from my grandson, Isaiah, as well. He died in 2004, October 2004. So he had everything laid out. And I can't remember how many sessions it took for him to do this tattoo. But it took several sessions. And it's beautiful. I love it. People stop me all the time for this tattoo. And I really like that they do that. And they always ask about it. Who is that? My gosh, that's so beautiful. And I get to brag about my granddaughter and brag about Dominic. And it's nice. People are real friendly and really cool about that. And I appreciate that. It's funny. I went down to see my uncle several years ago, and I hadn't seen him since I had all these tattoos. And he's like, ick, I don't know, before I got down there. When I got down there, I have to say he was very gracious and didn't say anything about them. And I really appreciate that. I had been able to explain to him the reason for the tattoos and, things that I had gone through. And so that was good. That helped me out a lot. Okay, after I had Anna Grace done, I started thinking about my other grandkids. I have 5 grandkids total. And I was thinking, what the heck am I going to do? I've got this great big portrait of Anna Grace. And I guess I should say the reason I do this is my kids and I have not seen my grandkids since 2016. There are a multitude of reasons for that. I have her on there, and I have this other one I'm going to show you because I have them with me wherever I go. And no one is going to be able to tell them that I don't love them. I mean, who in the world is going to have something they don't absolutely love with everything within them tattooed on their body? I don't think anyone. And by this time, I was thinking coherently. So what I ended up doing after Anna Grace's, here is her finished portrait here. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So let's get back to my other grandkids. What I decided to do with them was I came up with the idea of, instead of having a bunch of little heads tattooed all over my body, and at that time I wanted something more colorful. I was feeling joyful, and I wanted my grandkids to know how very much I love them. So I came up with the idea of doing a leg sleeve that was a birth month flower for my kids, my 5 kids, and my 5 grandkids. That's what I'm going to try and share with you now, and let's see if we can do that. He has it all laid out. He had started doing some coloring. This was a 2+ year project here, and Dominic took his time. We watched movies. I cried. Well, not really, but there were a few ouchy spots in there, but this is all laid out. And what I did, I found the birth month flowers for each of my kids. Right here, when you see this is violets. This is for my son Cole. He's born in February. This is a rose. And that is for my dad, Joshua, and Josiah. I have larkspur in here, which is July, for Isaiah. Right here, there's a butterfly, and there is a daisy, which is turquoise, and that is April for Anna Grace and my daughter Carly. Well, on the back of my leg, I've got the others, and on the side, I have a chrysanthemum for Jackson. And on the very back of my leg, there is a daffodil, which is March, for Nikki and Jacob. So this is my mom, which is April, my daughter, and my granddaughter. Here's Dominic working on it. And you can see he's pretty much completed the violets for Cole. This rose was a pain to get done because he had to cover up a really crappy tattoo. So this larkspur here is for July. So that is Isaiah. And there's the rose, top of the butterfly, really pretty. I was so impressed with this. I was like, this is just crazy. And this thing was expensive. I was dropping money every time I went in there because I wanted the best. I didn't want it to be some half-assed job, and I wanted it to really represent my love and my joy for my kids and my grandkids. Do I have? And I've got to apologize because actually I weighed probably 60 more pounds than I do right now in these photographs. All right, there's the rose, almost completed, not quite. But the rose, this is where he outlined pretty much everything. I think that took about 2 sessions to do that. And you can see there's a tattoo under there that he hid, and he had to pack that he had to pack this with white ink, and that was something else. It took a long time for that to heal, but I'm glad that I did that. Here's one that is most of the way finished. You can see it is up from my ankle up to the rose. I just look at his work and I just think it's so amazing that someone can do this. All right, here's a full leg picture. And if you can see right here on the little side, but my calf, there's a little ladybug there, and that is up through the rose. It looks like the daffodil has been completed on the back. I don't think it's sharing it with you, so I'm going to try and remember and get these put in. All right, this has been so crazy for me to do this because we don't want to go that way. I know I'm going to have to insert some of these because they're not showing up. Where's my daffodil? I don't know. No, these are just tattoos. And since I had this done, this is just plain old cellophane or whatever you call it. There's a product out called Second Skin that's amazing. And then if we go to this, okay, here is the back of my leg. And here's the little bitty ladybug for Anna Grace. This is Lily of the Valley for my son Michael. This is the daffodil for my grandson Jacob and my daughter Nikki. Right here you can see in more detail those violets were just gorgeous. That's for Cole. The larkspur that comes down the rose. There's Dominic again working away. And I'll just move this up slowly so you can kind of see. Like I said, this was like 26 months, something like that, to finish this. There is one more tattoo missing. I'll have to find that. It is on my sternum, and that was a tattoo. That was a trauma tattoo. It's underneath, right here on my sternum. This one hurt so bad. I could not move for several days. I had to pack it with ice. Oh my gosh. I would not go through that pain again. If I had known it was going to hurt that bad, I probably still would have done it because, like I said, it was an either or kind of situation with me during those really rough days. And I'm glad I made the decisions that I made because I am still here. I'm still alive. And, you know, my leg with my grandkids, I guess all of the ones for my grandkids are very special to me because they speak as to my love to my grandkids, that I carry them with me wherever I go. To my grandkids and my kids, wherever I go, I'm thinking of them. I'm telling stories about them. I am showing people my love for my grandchildren. And I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback on my tattoo, surprisingly enough. And I know part of that's living in this area, in the Portland area, but I'll be at other places and people are like, oh my gosh, that works amazing. It's like, yeah, dude, it was pretty amazing. I mean, to watch him pull all of this together was just quite wonderful. And then I've got my last one that I want to show you. My son Joshua died in October of 2021. And I'll link a playlist for what happened there. And Joshua always had a thing for long stem roses, a single long stemmed rose. On the back of his neck when he was born, I noticed that he had a heart-shaped birthmark. So I went into Jason. I said, Jason, I want to put this together. I want a heart and I want a rose in it for Joshua. And this one was pretty much trauma. It's black and gray, as you can see. And that was, you can't see it if my hair's not up. It's on the back of it's like top part of my neck, bottom part of my neck. That was really probably my most emotional tattoo to get because my son had just died. And it was hard. It was pretty rockin' hard. But Jason was a trooper. Jason did it for me. You know, people, if they see it, what do you have on your neck? It's like, that's my son. I, lost him in October of 2021. And then I'm able to tell the story of how we lost him. So there are my trauma tattoos. Where are yours? You guys, please, thank you so much for supporting me in this. And this will probably be the last video I publish before I leave for my birthday celebration in Europe. And I'm probably going to be uploading shorts on my Tattooed Biker Chick page or channel of different things going on in Europe and Portugal and the air. I'm mainly going to Portugal, but I'll be in England, Madrid, Lisbon, and Porto this time. You guys really enrich my day. And thank you for letting me spend some of your day with you. It means so much. I will see you guys relatively soon. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out. Bye, guys.